Hi, I'm Chris, and today I'll be talking about STL's Passacaglia bass ocarina. The Passacaglia is ideal for an intermediate to advanced player who is looking for a bass ocarina with a rich, expressive tone that has a natural, earthy appearance to match. The Passacaglia bass can be used as a solo or ensemble instrument. The Passacaglia bass is fully chromatic and plays in the key of C from A3 to F5, giving it a range of 1 octave plus 5 for a total of 13 notes. Here's the scale. The Passacaglia bass is about 10.5 inches long and it's about 6.5 inches wide. It weighs 1 pound and 10 ounces, which is about the same as my iPad 3. Here they are next to each other for a better size comparison. Bass ocarinas are bigger than tenor and soprano ocarinas because the pitch of an ocarina is determined by its internal chamber size. Bass ocarinas have to be bigger in order to get the deeper pitches. The Passacaglia bass is well balanced between the hands, but if you have small or weak hands, it may be a bit too large for you. It has a nice texture that provides a good grippy surface that to me looks a bit like a naturally formed igneous rock. It also has a very interesting shape that not only looks good, but may provide some ergonomic advantages over other bass ocarinas. I'll discuss more about how to use its shape to your advantage in the performance advice section. The Passacaglia isn't a quiet or a loud ocarina. I consider it right there in the middle. Because it is a bass ocarina, it will naturally seem quieter, but keep in mind that the Passacaglia bass is also very resonant, so those bass frequencies may carry. While it projects very well, if you're performing with other instruments, you may want to consider being mic'd for best results. The Passacaglia bass requires good breath support to play all but the lowest notes. If you have diminished lung capacity or are easily winded playing other ocarinas, you may find this bass a bit challenging. That said, a medical study recently published in Taiwan demonstrated that playing the ocarina can offer therapeutic benefits to people with respiratory issues. It's definitely worth mentioning that the Passacaglia bass does actually have a fairly dynamic breath slope for an ocarina. You may have noticed when I played the scale that the lowest notes actually have a pretty soft volume. Overall, the breath requirement is fairly high, but for those lowest notes, you'll need to have pretty good breath control, particularly for low B flat and low A. Because of the increased breath requirements and the need for breath control at those increased levels, I recommend the Passacaglia bass to intermediate and advanced players or to very dedicated beginners that absolutely must have a bass ocarina. The Passacaglia bass tone has a lot of character. I find it dark and earthy, but with a very expressive quality. It is chiffy, but not bright. I think it has a very unique, mysterious tone. Even if the Passacaglia is not your first ocarina, I recommend practicing over a soft surface until you become comfortable with the ergonomics, even while using the neck strap. Because bass ocarinas are a bit heavier than soprano and tenor ocarinas, it would be a good idea to spend some quality time with your Passacaglia to make sure that you can hold it securely while playing the highest notes. To discover the best technique for playing the high notes, I recommend experimenting with different techniques to find the one that works best for the Passacaglia. As I go up the scale, I find that it helps to tilt the ocarina forward slightly so that my left index finger is pressed into the curve on the front of the ocarina. This way, the weight of the ocarina is supported by the left hand for the higher notes. I also like to change my hand position so that I'm gripping the tail of the ocarina for the 3 highest notes. This allows my thumbs to be able to lift off very easily. This technique works great for slower, more melodic music, and it also provides great stability when holding longer notes. Alternatively, for faster playing, you can keep your hands in the home position by stabilizing the front of the ocarina with your right pinky, and instead of lifting the thumbs off of the thumb holes, you can roll them off, stabilizing the ocarina with your thumbs and right pinky. This allows for faster transitions between high and low notes, but the downside is that transitions may sound a bit sloppier and a bit more like pitch bends until you become very familiar with both the ocarina and the technique. Also, as you approach the highest notes, more and more weight will be shifted onto those remaining fingers. It's always best to try to use the right technique for each situation, so it often depends on what you're playing. To get the best results on the high notes, be sure to use plenty of breath on the 3 highest notes. This is especially true for bass ocarinas. If you don't use enough breath, you'll sound flat, and the notes will sound weak and airy. Using the correct amount of breath will produce a much better, clearer tone. Be sure to breathe deeply from the diaphragm, and you can also tighten your lips slightly for the highest notes, which will help to focus your airflow into the mouthpiece more efficiently. Good intonation is very important if you want to play with other musicians. I recommend spending some quality time with the tuner, either a physical one or one that you can get for free online, or even an app for your phone, and making sure that you're using the correct amount of breath to play each note correctly in tune. Start with the C major scale, and then go back and make sure that you play all of the semitones correctly in tune as well. Once you become more familiar with the breath requirements for your ocarina, you can help develop a good natural sense of intonation by playing groups of notes like low B and A and comparing it with high B and A, or low D, E, and F and comparing it with high D, E, and F, to make sure that you're still playing those low notes and high notes correctly in tune. Most importantly, be patient with yourself as you practice staying on pitch consistently. It gets much easier with practice. The bass range has a very soothing tone and sounds great for playing music that is melodic and relaxing. You can play upbeat music on it too, so it just depends on your tastes. A bass ocarina also sounds really lovely when playing harmony with a higher pitched ocarina, such as a tenor C. Well, that's all for this time. Thanks for watching.